We're here again. It's Market Monday, week's Market Monday. Make sure you pay attention to the ticker. It'll show you the neighborhoods that we're talking about. We're going to start with Bluffton, talk a little bit about Forest Beach, what's happening in Wexford, and we'll wrap it up with Hilton Head Island. And at the end, we'll answer any questions. Know that we put the full calendar out today on Prud'hommeTeam.com on all of our social channels. And as I mentioned before, if you have any questions as we're going through this information, go ahead and just post it in the comments. And when we're all done, we'll answer any questions you have the best that we can. That's it. Let's get started with this week's Market Monday for Bluffton. Here are the numbers. 22 new listings came on the market this week. Last week we had 15. And by comparison, big difference. We had 51 at this same week last year. The year-to-date inventory numbers, 44 listings have come on the market so far this year in the Bluffton market. And on this date last year, the number was 79. So you can see there is very little inventory coming on the market as compared to last year. The sales in Bluffton, we had 28 closed sales this last week. The week prior, we had 21. And again, by comparison, this same week last year, we had 45 year-to-date sales. 62 sales so far in Bluffton, and through this date last year, we had 67, so not too bad. We can tell what's going to be happening here in the future by looking at the pendings or the under contracts. We had 22 properties go under contract this week. Last week we had 15. And again, by comparison, this week last year, 51. So that's not going to be too good here in the next 4 to 6 weeks. These lower numbers are going to affect the transactions, the closed transactions that we'll see 4 to 6, 8 weeks from now. The year-to-date pending. So far this year, we've had 44 properties go under contract in Bluffton in 2020. And through this day last year, we were at 79, so pretty big difference. The average selling price in Bluffton for the closed sales that we've had so far this year is $585,000. And through this date last year, that number was $560,000. 4% increase year over year. Very short period of time though, it's really hard to tell if it's just 4% appreciation or it's more. I can tell you it's a lot more year over year appreciation. And that number will come to bear as we get more data in there, as we have a larger sample size. Cumulative days on the market down to 62 days to sell your property in Bluffton. At this point last year, that number was 104. That is it for Bluffton. Let's jump right into Forest Beach. Now, as we look at Forest Beach and then Wexford, we're just going to look at the year-to-date numbers. So we're going to see how many sales we've had year-to-date this year versus last year, as an example. We always start with inventory. 2 properties on the market have come on the market so far this year in Forest Beach, and at this time last year, 18. 18, that's a pretty big difference right there. That's a huge difference. We need more inventory across all segments of the market. Of course we do. The closed sales, we had 13 closed sales so far this year already, and through this point last year, we had 10. So we're ahead there. That's pretty good. That's probably why there's less inventory. The under contracts are a glimpse of what's coming into the future. We had 13 properties go under contract, and through this point last year, we had 16. In Forest Beach, the average selling price so far, $489,000 is the average selling price through this date this year, and through this date last year, it was $409,000. In cumulative days on the market, down to 26. Holy cow, 26, less than a month. And where were we at this point last year? 72. Quite the difference. Now Wexford, we are putting in Wexford because we're going to be reporting as the year goes on, but I'm going to, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. I'm going to give you a reveal, I guess, ahead of time. Not much has happened in Wexford so far this year, but we need to kick it off some way. And so we're just going to compare where we are this year with last year, although basically nothing's happened in Wexford so far this year. So in 2022, no new listings have come out of the market in Wexford. But through this point last year, we had already seen 3 properties come on the market. Sales, there's been no sales so far this year in Wexford. Through this point last year, again, we had 3. Under contracts, 1 property has gone under contract since the first of the year. And through this point last year, we had 4, so very big difference. There's been no sales, so I can't report an average selling price so far this year. But at this point last year, it was $884,000. And there's been no sales, so I can't report days on market, how quick a property is selling in Wexford. But at this point last year, it was a very large 259 days. So that's Wexford. Now let's wrap it up with Hilton Head Island as a whole. If you came for Hilton Head Island, now it's your time. New inventory, we brought 37 properties on the market this week on Hilton Head Island. Last week we had 20. And this same week last year, by comparison, 65. 65, big difference. The year-to-date numbers, most interested in this, we brought 69 properties on the market so far this year, and through this point last year, 112. Really big difference. And you know, our market is just inventory starved, and you can see the trend is going to continue. Now the good news with inventory starvation, a lack of inventory usually causes prices to go higher. Property prices get bid up, and that's something that we're seeing. But at some point, it also reveals other opportunities that people might otherwise take a look at. Sales, we had 31 closed sales this week. Last week we had 29, and by comparison, this week last year we had 80. Ginormous difference. The year-to-date sales, 73 sales have closed so far on Hilton Head Island in 2022, and at this point last year it was 126. Again, huge difference. What does the future look like? The pendings, we had 64 properties go under contract this last week. We reported 45 the week prior, and by comparison this week last year, 84. So not as bad. Not as bad as the sales, still lower, but not by that same significant margin that we were just looking at. The year-to-date pending sales, 105 properties have gone under contract so far in 2022. And at this point last year, we had 135. So again, not as bad as the closed sales. Man, it'd be great to see some inventory come on the market. Now let's talk about average selling price. The average selling price on Hilton Head Island, $718,000 through this day this year, or so far in 2022. And at this point last year, the average selling price was $583,000. So that's a 23% increase. That's a 23% increase, and that's probably about right, to be honest with you. Cumulative days on the market, we are down to 46 days is the average amount of time it takes for a property to sell on Hilton Head Island. And at this point last year, that number was 76 days. So the market is very strong. Inventory is very low. I would argue at some point it's a little bit too low, lower than what it needs to be. We need more inventory. If you've been thinking of selling, there may have never been a good of time, at least in my experience in real estate, I can't remember a market that leans in favor of a seller as strong as this market does. We are gonna see you next week. Follow us on social media at theprudhommeteam.com. Thank you so much. Make it a great week.